Previous session, what we had discussed, that is the Purusha Avataras, the Vishnu Avataras of Supreme Goddess Sri Krishna, Purusha Avatara. So we are seeing that chapter in which all the different incarnations of Supreme Godhead is mentioned. Purusha Avataras is mentioned, in which Karanodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. There are three incarnations of Supreme Godhead. Sri Krishna is mentioned. And also there are types of different types of incarnations that we actually saw. There are different types of incarnations. Mainly there were 6 types of incarnations, right? If you remember any of those types, you can put in the chat box quickly. Let's see whether you are remembering of what we have discussed. And I'll tell you there are 6 types of incarnations that we discussed in the previous session, like Guna Avataras, Purusha Avataras, Manvantar Avatara, Yuga Avatar, Leela Avatar, and Shaktavesh Avatar. These are the 6 types of incarnations. So in this incarnation, Supreme Lord Sri Krishna keep coming in different millenniums after millenniums. Medianti Yuga. He always keeps coming. He accepts different incarnations. So till now we have discussed Purusha Avatara, the first one, right? Karanodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. This we have discussed. So these 3 incarnations are directly involved in creating universes. Yeah. They are the Purushas, they are the supreme powerful enjoyers of the world. And they have created this material world. They are the creators. And that's why their name is Karanodakshaya Vishnu, means he is the Karan, he is the cause, he is the ultimate cause, Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the Karan, he is the cause of this material manifestation. Yeah. And we see after that, there comes Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So he is the powerful incarnation of Supreme Goddess Sri Krishna in every universe. And then comes Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So till now we have discussed Purusha Avataras. Now let's proceed ahead. Now Sutta Goswami is telling us, getting us into all the different types of incarnations which Lord Sri Krishna tells. And ultimately he tells that, oh my dear Saunaka, there are unlimited incarnations of Supreme Godhead, unlimited. Just like there are unlimited waves in river, uncountable number of waves. Similarly, there are unlimited number of incarnations. How many I will tell you. So now let's proceed ahead. As many number of incarnations are discussed in this particular section. So Sutta Goswami says, Sa eva pratamam daiva kaumaram shargamashritah chachara dushcharam brahmacharyam akhanditam. First of all, in the beginning of creation, there were the 4 unmarried sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, who being situated in a vow of celibacy, underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth. So, in the previous session, we discussed that from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu comes the first living entity, the first generated being, and his name is Brahma. He actually gets originated from the navel of Lord Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu navel. So this is the person, he is originated directly from Supreme God. But he is not Supreme God at the same place. Yeah, he is originated from Supreme God, but he is a living entity, very, very powerful, empowered living entity, Brahmaji. And he has power as such that he can create living entities from his different limbs. He can create living entities from his mind. So these 4 sons of Brahmaji, you are able to see here, these 4 sons, they're like kids, they always remain naked. And they were created from the mind of Brahmaji. They were created from the mind of Brahmaji. And Brahma has only one agenda. Brahma has the order from Lord Vishnu that now Brahma, you are Prajapati. Now you have to generate population, you have to fill the universe. The universe is all vacant, you have to fill the universe with the living entities. And I will provide the soul, you give them the bodies. So, sanas were created. These 4 sons were created from the mind. And Lord Brahma told that now, my dear child, my dear children, now please go ahead, proceed ahead. Please help me in my mission of populating the whole universe with the living entities. So these four sanas are very, very powerful, intelligent people. They were ever liberated soul. What they are speaking to Brahmaji, telling, my dear father, don't you feel it's good? Don't you feel it's wrong that just putting us? You are trying to take us into samsara. You are trying to put us into darkness of material existence by getting into this creation, getting into this uh, maya moh. That's called thinking that something belongs to us and something belongs to others. So we do not want to get into this all things. We just simply want to remain first class brahmacharis and want to just engage our senses in glorification of Supreme Lord Hari. You please don't bother us. So these were the four sons, the first disobedient sons of Brahmaji, but they were actually very great exalted souls. They checked their age. They checked their age, and they remain always just like small little babies. Why? Because small little babies, they do not feel agitated by understanding of male and female. Small little children, they do not have so much discrimination between who is male and who is female. They do not get much agitation or different types of different types of disturbances into their senses, owing them to be children. So they voluntarily wanted to remain just like children. They are still like children, right? They underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth. So these four sanas were none other than Supreme Godhead in one of the millennium. Yeah, Supreme Godhead expands as four sanas. So they are the incarnations of knowledge. Then comes second, Dvitiyam tu bhavayasya rashatalagata mahim uddharishanupadatta yaggesha shaukaram vapuhu. Boar incarnation, a supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices, accepted the incarnation of a boar. The second incarnation, Dvitiyam tu. And for the welfare of the earth, he lifted the earth from the nether region of universe. So this is called Varaha incarnation, Varaha avatar, in which Supreme Lord takes up the mission of delivering earth from Rasatala, from the region of Hellas planet, region of neither region of universe. So there is a great history behind this. There had been great powerful demons in the world, and the we can say that Adi demons, the primordial demons were two great brothers, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksh, and younger one was Hiranyaksh. And this fellow, he was so powerful that he has taken one what's called club. He has taken up one club, and he is going throughout the whole universe to search out his own equal combat, and he just want to fight. There are sometimes people they always want to take up fights because their blood is always boiling. They cannot keep themselves quiet unless they fight. They're always into fighting. They always feel great enjoyment, fighting with each other. So he was Hiranyaksh, and in this way, ultimately, he defeated everyone practically. Nobody was able to stand in front of him. He used to just simply knock down everyone. And in this way, he went ultimately to Varuna Dev, and Varuna Dev told that I am also surrendering unto you, my dear Hiranyaksha. Surely I pray that there will be a personality, Supreme Godhead will come and he will give you wonderful combat. Yeah, so Supreme Lord Narayana, Lord Sri Krishna appears as boar, and he delivers the Mother Earth, because this Hiranyaksha was so powerful that he dislocated Mother Earth from her orbit and he has thrown that Mother Earth into Garbhoda question. So there is a great history of the world, which is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a great delight. It's a great pleasure to read and understand and relish wonderful pastimes of Supreme Godhead. Yeah. So I'm just giving some small little glimpses. It's just like a small little glimpses of Srimad Bhagavatam, the different incarnations of Supreme Godhead, Sri Krishna. Yeah. So that you could go ahead, proceed ahead, reading Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the real life. Then start. Yeah. So now let's proceed ahead. What is the third incarnation Sutta Goswami is telling? तृतीयं ऋषि सर्गं वै देवर्षि त्वमुपेत्यशः तन्त्रं सात्वतमाचष्ट नैष्कर्म्यं कर्मणां यतः. In the millennium of rishis, the personality of God had accepted the third empowered incarnation in the form of Devarshi Narada, who was a great sage among the demigods. He collected expositions of the Vedas which deal with devotional service and which inspire non-fruitive action. Yeah. So in Rishi Sarga, Tritiyam, Rishi Sargam. So there are different ages. So there is a great calculation about it. So in some other section we can take up these calculations of different millenniums, how long, for how many years they go. So in millennium of rishis, there comes Lord Sri Krishna as Narad Muni. Yeah. So Narad Muni is a great exalted post. Actually, in every universe there is a post called Narad Muni. Yeah. And that post anybody holds, his only business is to roam around throughout the whole universe and propagate the devotional service of Supreme Goddess Sri Krishna. So in this particular millennium, we have a Narad Muni, of course, quite very famous, all of you know. So this Narad Muni is actually not the incarnation of Supreme Goddess Sri Krishna, but in one of the millennium, Supreme Lord Sri Krishna incarnated as Narad Muni. Yeah. So these all are great exalted posts. For fill those posts required a lot of piety, a lot of great karma. Unless one is selected to have that much amount of karma, the post remains vacant. So to fill that post, Supreme Lord Sri Krishna has to incarnate himself. Yeah, so he incarnates as Devarshi Narada, and he expounds the devotional service for the welfare of all living entities. And in this way, he actually propagating the science of non-fruitive action. Yeah. So now let's proceed ahead. Let's see the fourth incarnation, Nar Narayan Rishi. Turye dharma kala sharge nar narayana vrishi bhutvatmopashamopetam akaroda dushcharam tapaha. In the fourth incarnation, the Lord became Nar and Narayana, the twin sons of wife of King Dharma. Thus, he undertook severe and exemplary penances to control the senses. So, these Nar Narayan Rishi, the two brothers coming from from King Dharma, yeah. So they appeared in Himalaya regions, and their business was what? They did again tapasya. So they did tapasya in Himalayas, Nar Narayan Rishi, and that is so severe tapasya. You can see here that Indra got confused that who is this fellow who are doing so much severe tapasya. Are not they wishing and willing and aspiring to capture my post, Indraloka? So he become quite very much disturbed. So usually what Indra does to divert people's attention from their austerity, he sends celestial beauties, celestial girls, the society girl of heavens, to dissuade them from path of penances. So he sends very beautiful ladies, beautiful girls. They're called apsaras, to dance in front of Nar Narayan Rishi, to dissuade them, to distract them. So these all girls, they start dancing and showing different postures and different types of caricatures, so that Nar Narayan Rishi could open their eyes, and in this way they will be clean bowled. They will finish their austerities, will be just doomed, finished. So Nar and Narayan, they're not opening the eyes, they're perfectly fully into penance and austerity. And they were confused how long they will dance. They have been told to dance for some time, right? So, but when Lord Narayan thought that these people have danced a lot, I should be a little sympathetic upon them. So they open their eyes and they smiles. And Narayana says that, oh, you are so beautifully dancing. I'm really pleased from you. Now he pats in front of his thigh. He pats upon his thigh. Narayana pats upon his thighs, and from his thigh comes out most exquisite beauty, the most beautiful lady of the universe. Yeah, the most beautiful lady of the universe is Parvati, of course, but she comes maybe second or third position, and her name is Urvashi. And Narayana tells, take this girl with you, all of you, oh wonderful ladies, take this girl with you and offer this girl to your master Indra. Yeah. So by seeing the beauty of that girl who was coming from the thigh of Narayana, these all ladies were ashamed. They're feeling that, oh my, our beauty is nothing in front of her. Yeah. So Nar Narayana are not actually captivated by beauty, but they are the creator of beauty. Yeah. Narayana, they are themselves most beautiful personality. They are the source of all beauty in the world, in this material world, and as well as spiritual world. Yeah. So in this way, the fourth incarnation, as Sutta Goswami counts, Narayana Rishi comes. Then fifth comes Panchama Kapilo Nama Siddhesha Kala Viplutam Provacha Shure Shankyam Tattvagrama Vinirnayam. The fifth incarnation, named Lord Kapila, is foremost among perfected beings. He gave an exposition of creative elements and metaphysics to Asuri Brahmana, for in the course of time this knowledge had been lost. So Kapil Dev, it's not that Kapil Dev of cricket. So this person, Kapil Dev, is expounder of Sankhya philosophy. Expounder Sankhya philosophy means the knowledge of material universe, elemental knowledge. What are the different what are the different elements by which the whole universe has been made? So that's called Sankhya. So Supreme Lord Sri Krishna comes as Kapil Muni, and he gives this Sankhya philosophy, Sankhya knowledge. Then in the sixth incarnation, he comes as Dattatreya incarnation. Sashtam matrera patyatvam vritta prapto anusuyaya anvikchi kiman larkaya prahlad adibhya uchivan. The sixth incarnation of the Purusha was the son of sage Atri. He was born from the womb of Anusuya. So Atri and Anusuya, their husband and wife, yeah, who prayed for an incarnation. He spoke on the subject of transcendence to Alarka, Prahlad, and others. So Atri wanted to have Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara as her child. Yeah. So a different type of weird type of desires. Yeah, devotees sometimes they have. Yeah. So these all three, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, they actually came in front of Anusuya, as children, and they get merged and they incarnated as Dattatreya, and he given the transcendental knowledge to Prahlad and different kings like Yadu and Haihaya. Yeah. So in seventh incarnation, Lord Sri Krishna takes up the form of Manu. Yeah. The seventh incarnation was Yajna, the son of Prajapati Ruchi, and his wife Akuti. He controlled the period during the change of Swayambhu Manu and was assisted by demigods such as his son Yama. So we see this is the Prajapati named Yajna, who comes as a son of Ruchi, yeah, and Akuti. And in every Manvantar, he actually assists the demigods. For every Manvantar, 71 into 43 lakhs number of our solar years. That makes one Manvantar. Huge time. Yeah. So for this much tenure of time, one Indra stays in the heaven. And in this period, one Manu also stays. So in one of the incarnation, Lord Sri Krishna comes as Yajna. Yeah. So his name is also Yajna. Then comes as in eighth incarnation Rishabdev. Astame Meru Devyam tu Nabher Jata Urukramaha Darshayan Vartmadhiranam Sarvashraman Namaskritam. The eighth incarnation was King Rishabha, son of King Nabhi, and his wife Meru Devi. So these are all incarnations Supreme Goddess Sri Krishna, who comes taking help of his mothers. So in different incarnations, he takes up, he chooses his own father and mother, and they are all mentioned in the Shastras. It's not like anybody and everybody can become father and mother of Supreme God. It's required only one qualification, that is being a devotee of Supreme Lord. So Supreme Lord, whenever he appears taking media of his own devotees who actually take part, as they serve Supreme Lord as father and mother. As we know, in the incarnation of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Krishna himself comes, then he takes media of Vasudev and Devaki, similarly Nanda Baba and Yashoda, and these all are predestined. I mean, pre-arranged. He knows that what will my father and mother name. So that's the difference between our father and mother and Supreme Godhead's father and mother. As Supreme Godhead has no father and mother, he is Ajanma, he is Aja, he is not born. But he takes up this type of relationship just to give pleasure to devotees who actually wanted to have Supreme Godhead as his own children. Yeah. So we see in the Bhagavatam only it's mentioned, in the Mahabharata it's mentioned, in Padma Puran, in Skanda Puran, in Agni Puran, Atharva Veda mentions that Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is going to come as Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu in Siddham Mayapur, and his father's name will be Jagannath Mishra, and his mother's name will be Sachi Mata, Sachi Sutta, Bhavishyati. So what incarnation Supreme God is going to take? All are mentioned, and how he's going to come, where he's going to come, who is his father, who is his mother, all the names are mentioned. So that's the difference between our coming and Supreme Godhead's coming. Our taking of father, we do not choose our father and mother, right? None of us have chosen our father and mother. So this father and mother, these people are good, so I'm going to come from their union. Yeah, we do not have any option. But Supreme Godhead have the control. Supreme Godhead is having full control at where he want to come and how he want to come. So the eighth incarnation was King Rishabha, son of King Nabhi, and his wife Meru Devi. In this incarnation, the Lord showed the path of perfection, which is followed by those who have fully controlled their senses and who are honored by all orders of life. So Rishabdev rules the whole world for thousands of years, and after that he retires. He takes up the renounced order of life known as Paramhansa, and in this way he is quite very famous in the world as Sarva Ashraman Namaskritam. So then we shall proceed ahead. Rishibhiryachito bheje navamam parthivam vapuhu dugdhe mamoshadhir viprastenayam saushattamaha. O Brahmanas, in the ninth incarnation, the Lord prayed for by sages, accepted the body of a king, Prithu, who cultivated the land to yield various produces, and for that reason the earth was beautiful and attractive. So this is the incarnation, Prithu Maharaj. So Lord Sri Krishna takes up the incarnation. It's called Saktavesh Avatar, Prithu Maharaj. So there was a time when the whole earth has become fully barren land, where there was no produce, there was no grain coming up, and people were suffering, they were starving. Why they were starving? Why Mother Earth had actually stopped giving grains to the public? Because all people in the world has become godless. All people had become fully devoid of Krishna consciousness, the God consciousness. They have turned their face, they have become perfectly simply sense gratifiers when there is no other agenda for their life. So when this type of population increases more and more, what happens? Mother Earth, she controls, or she stops giving produces. She stops giving pure water. She stops giving grain. So this was the scenario at one time in Satya Yuga. Yeah. So what happens? Prithu Maharaj was called upon by Munis and Rishis of then, by seeing this situation. There must be some pious king. So Supreme Lord appears as Prithu Maharaj, and he orders Mother Earth, he orders Prithvi, Mother Earth. And that time her name was not yet Prithvi. So the word Prithvi has been taken by Mother Earth from Prithu Maharaj. Yeah. Because Prithu Maharaj, by force, he orders Mother Earth, you must produce food grains for my people, for my citizens. Yeah, you must. And in this way, he punishes also Mother Earth. And Mother Earth behaves just like Mother Earth, the personification of Mother Earth behave just like the daughter of Prithu Maharaj. And in this way, her one of the name becomes Prithvi. Yeah. So now let's proceed ahead. Matsya Avatar. So, Rupam sajagrihe matsyam chakshushodashidap samplave navyaropya mahimayam apadveva swatam manum. So when there was a complete inundation after the period of Chakshushamanu and the whole world was deep within water, the Lord accepted the form of a fish and protected Vaivaswatamanu, keeping him up on a boat. Yeah. So in every Manvantar means every this many years that you are able to see here, you are able to see one Manvantar is the period this many. 4,32,000 years into 10 into 71. So what is this 4,32,000 years? This is the calculation of aggregate of 4 yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali. So every time the Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali is having this much tenure of, this much tenure, 4,32,000. So this cycle is keep coming, keep going. Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali, Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali. So in this way, yeah, so 4,32,000 years is of course a Kali Yuga, and 10 times it becomes, that's called the fourth Chatur Yuga. This Chatur Yuga period is this much. So then if this many years, if you multiply by 71, means if 71 times the Chatur Yuga cycle goes, then that's called the one lifetime of Manu. Yeah, so one Manu stays for this many years. So in every Manvantar, when Manu dies, then there is a partial annihilation, partial cataclysm. And practically till whole Bhuloka fully immerses into water, inundation takes place. So then to save the living entities, specifically the sages and the seeds of the living entities, to preserve them so that again after Manvantar, the living entities will start again procreating themselves, Lord comes as Matsya Avatar. Then comes Tortoise Avatar, Kurma Avatar. Shura Shurana Mudadim Matnatam Mandarachalam Dadre Kamatharupena Prishta Ekadashe Vibhu. The 11th incarnation of the Lord took the form of a tortoise whose shell served as a pivot for the Mandarachal hill, which was being used as a churning rod by the theists and atheists of the universe. So theist means devatas and atheist means the demons. As simple as that. So Prabhupada is having very simple definition. Of course, the Vedas also with the same definition, that there are two types of people always available in the world. First are called Daiva, the divine people, they are called demigods, and there are another called Asuras, the demoniac people. So who are they? Vishnu Bhakta Smarta Daivaha. Those people, those who are worshippers of Lord Sri Krishna and Lord Vishnu, they are called Daiva. They are called divine people. They are demigods. And Asuras Tad Viparya, rest everyone is Viparya, is Asuraha, means they are demons. So these two classes of people, they always have fight with each other. Now, usually we also have sometimes seen there are so many enemies that automatically, spontaneously come up as being the enemy of devotees. So in 11th incarnation, Lord took the form of a tortoise, in which the demons and demigods, they were churning the ocean to get nectar. And they had to balance the Mandarachal mountain, what Mandarachal mountain they were using as a pivot for churning. And Vasuki was acting as a rope for churning. And when this Mandarachal mountain was put in the ocean, it was going down into the ocean, was sinking down. So Devatas, the demigods, have prayed to the Lord, oh Lord, this is your mission. You have instructed us to do this. Now we see we are in such a perilous situation. Please save us. How we will be able to maintain this mountain as a churning rod? So Lord Sri Krishna immediately appears as Kurma, and he holds the whole mountain upon his back. And it is told in Shastras, in Bhagavatam, it is told that when they were churning and the Mandarachal mountain was moving like this, rotating like this, and this Kurma avatar, this Kurma was having great pleasure. He was thinking that, oh, somebody is like itching, somebody is scratching the itch. So somebody scratches the itch, it becomes very much pleasurable for the person in the backside. Somebody scratches the itch in the back, it becomes quite pleasurable. So in this way, Supreme Lord was doing pastimes. pastimes in the form of tortoise. Then in 13th incarnation, Lord takes up the form of Dhanvantari. Dhanvantaram dvadashamam trayodashamam evacha apayay atsurananyan mohinya mohayan shriya. In the 12th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari, and in the 13th, he allured a thief by charming beauty of a woman and gave nectar to the demigods to drink. So this is the 12th incarnation as Dhanvantari. When the churning of the ocean was happening, then ultimately what comes? Nectar comes. Dhanvantari comes up and gives the nectar. He offers the nectar to the demons and demigods. But demons were quite very much sharp. They're very they think themselves to be very intelligent. They think themselves that what is the difference between demons and demigods? Demigods, any situation they come in problem in their life, they always remember Supreme God Narayana. And demons, no matter whatever time they come, they never remember Supreme God Sri Krishna or Narayana. They always think that I can do it. Yes, my muscle can do it. My intelligence can make it. I can crack it. They never take shelter of Supreme Godhead. So we see in our day-to-day life also there are some type of people who always think that they are the super intelligent people, and without mercy of God, they are able to do anything and everything. Yeah, so in this way, the demons they immediately came up and they snatched the bottle, and not I mean the bottle, the pot, the kalasha, from the hand of Dhanvantari, and it started running just to drink them. And after that, they had fight with each other. And demigods were thinking, my God, the nectar came out with both of us, the demigods, demons, both of us actually that toiled. But now the demons have taken up, they just snatched the nectar, and they're running. So what will happen? They again pray to the Supreme Lord, oh Lord, what we can do now? Then Lord again appears as Mohini Murti, the most beautiful, exquisite beauty. Nobody can compare with the beauty of Sri Krishna. Of course, when Sri Krishna takes up the form of a woman, then she becomes like, it's become very confusing for me whether to be told she or he. He becomes most beautiful, like maddening beauty. Nobody is near in beauty with Mohini Murti. Even Lakshmi also. She is the most beautiful lady, whether in spiritual and material world. And she also feels ashamed seeing the beauty of Sri Krishna when he takes up the form of woman. And the demigods, the demons see, my God, they were fully flat. They're thinking, my God, forget about nectar. Now let's have wonderful relations with this Mohini Murti. And this Mohini Murti cheats demons. And she gives full nectar. And demigods understand he's my Supreme Lord Narayana himself, taken up the form of Mohini Murti. So in this way we see those who are worshippers of Krishna, those who are worshippers of Narayana, they're always victorious because they are fully in the shelter of Supreme Lord Narayana. Then in the 14th incarnation comes Narsingha avatar. Chaturdasham Narasingham Bibrad Daityantar Murjitam Tadarka Jairu Raverakam Katat Kridatha. In the 14th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Narsingha and bifurcated the strong body of atheist Hiranyakashipu with his nails, just as a carpenter pierces the cane. So quite very famous incarnation, Narsingha avatar. When the brother of Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, had terrorized the whole world, practically terrorized everywhere, and he was searching, where is my enemy, Vishnu? Where is my enemy? Where is the killer of my brother? Has gone. He was practically going throughout the whole planet, 14 planet system, searching where is Vishnu, where is Vishnu? I will take revenge from him. He cannot just to escape from me. So he was running everywhere. Practically, he was such a powerful demon that in search of Lord Vishnu, he entered into Vaikuntha planet also. And in Vaikuntha planet, this fellow starts shouting. He starts rebuking Supreme Lord. He starts giving different types of galis. He starts rebuking. He starts thinking that by hearing those all rebukes, Krishna will come out. Lord Narayana will come out from Vaikuntha and will start fighting with me. Lord Narayana has no difference, having no effect of different types of rebukes. Everything is, you understand, to be glorification only. Yeah? So Lord Narayana didn't showed up. So he understood that now Lord Narayana is dead. Now Narayana is dead. Brahma, I cannot come. Brahma is like, he is fearful of me. So now why myself is Supreme Lord now. So he starts claiming themselves to be Supreme God. Yeah. So like this, there are so many people also, they do not have so much power, so much valor as Hiranyakashipu, but still there are many people in the world, they claim themselves to be the Supreme God. So ultimately we see that Prahlad Maharaj, his own son comes up, he is such a great devotee of the Lord, and he couldn't do anything. He couldn't do anything to his son his son Prahlad Maharaj. He wanted to stop his worship of Supreme Lord Narayana, but he could not do that. And ultimately, because of Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Narayana comes, Lord Sri Krishna comes as Narsingh Avatar, and he does this. He does this pastime of piercing the body of atheist Hiranyakashipu demon. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshava Dhrita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. So Supreme Lord Narayana Hari takes up the form of Narsingha. Then 15th incarnation, Lord takes up the Vamana avatar. Just one day before, we had Vamana Dwadasi also. So in the 15th incarnation, Panchadasham Vamanakam Kritva Gadadvaram Bale Padatrayam Yachamana Pratyaditsu Sripishtapam. In the 15th incarnation, the Lord assumed the form of a dwarf Brahmana Vamana and visited the arena of sacrifice arranged by Maharaj Bali. Although at heart he was willing to regain the kingdom of the three planetary systems, he simply asked for donation of 3 steps of land. So Lord Narayana, Sri Krishna himself, we see in people in the world, they do different types of different types of diplomacy, different types of politics, cheating. These all things are happening. So how these all things are happening? These things are not good, right? Diplomacy, cheating, forgery. But all the things are actually coming from Supreme Godhead. This is the science of Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra says, Janmadi yasyatah, everything is coming from Supreme God. Everything is coming. But when it's coming to us on our platform, it becomes mundane. It becomes mundane. But when it is there with Supreme God and Narayana, Sri Krishna, it's supramundane. It's fully transcendental. So here we see Lord Sri Krishna comes as Vamana and he cheats. He cheats. He's the greatest cheater. He's the topmost cheater. Yeah, nobody can be greater cheater than Sri Krishna. Yeah. Of course, he's the greatest thief also. And we sing him to be Navanita Chauram. He is the best of the thief. Chauragra Ganyam. He is the topmost of the thieves. Chauragra Ganyam Purusham Namami. Yeah. So Sri Krishna is also greatest cheater, and he cheats the demons when they forget Sri Krishna and they usurp the position of demigods. Then Lord Sri Krishna comes as Vamana and he cheats Maharaj Bali, and again he reclaims the whole universe for Indra, Lord Indra. Yeah. Now let's proceed ahead. In 16th incarnation, Lord Sri Krishna comes as Parshuram Avatar. In the 16th incarnation, Lord Godhead takes up the form of Bhrigupati and annihilates administrative class Kshatriyas 21 times. 3 Saptakritvaha, 3 into 7, 21 times, being angry with them because of their rebellion against the Brahmanas, the intelligent class. The Supreme Lord takes up this form of Parshuram to curtail the demoniac power when the kings had become perfectly demons and unruly. They are surpassing the rules and regulations of Vedas. So to curtail their power, Parshuram, Lord Sri Krishna comes as Lord Parshuram, and he annihilates the Kshatriya race 21 times from this planet Earth. 21 times. You can imagine. Wherever Parshuram used to go, then kings will simply run. They'll run, leaving the kingdom. Even Dasarath Maharaj also was somehow saved from the wrath of Parshuram. So in this way, then we see in 17th incarnation, Godhead Sri Vyasadeva appeared in the womb of Satyavati through Parashar Muni, and he divided the one Veda into several branches and sub-branches, seeing that the people in general are less intelligent. So this is Lord Vyasadeva. So Vyasadeva is not just ordinary person. Sometimes people they say Vyasadeva, he wrote Vedas. Why we should put faith upon Vedas? Vedas were just maybe another compilation by any mortal like us. but this is not true. Vedas are actually compilation of Supreme Goddess Sri Krishna himself coming as Vyasdev, the literary incarnation of Supreme Goddess Sri Krishna. Vyasdev comes. Sri Krishna comes along with all his party. So all is the people, those who are actually going to take part in establishment dharma. So Vyasdev also comes, and Vyasdev is none other than Sri Krishna himself. And he divides one Veda. There was only one Veda before. Before 5,000 years before, there was only one Veda, Atharva Veda. And Atharva Veda was subdivided again by Vyasdev into four. Rig Veda, Atharva Veda once again, the Sama Veda and Yajur Veda. Yeah? And this way he gives the history and different Puranas and Vedanta Sutra, Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we see in 18th incarnation, Lord appeared as King Rama. Naradevattvamapanna surkarya chikirshaya samudra nigrahadini chakre viryandata param. In the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as King Rama in order to perform some pleasing work for demigods. He exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean, Samudra Nigraha, and then killing the atheist king Ravana, who was on the other side of the sea. So all of you know the Ramayana. So Lord Sri Krishna takes up the form of Lord Ramachandra, Naradevattamapannam, for the pleasure of Indra, to just fulfill his desire. In 19th and 20th incarnation, the Lord advented himself as Lord Balaram. And Lord Sri Krishna in the family of Vrishni's Yadu dynasty, and by so doing, he removed the burden of the world. All of you know the glories of Sri Krishna. He comes in the dynasty of Yadus, Vrishnis, and he removes the burden of the world. Then he comes as Lord Buddha. Tata kalau samparvitta sammohaya suradisham. Buddho namna sutah kikatesu bhavishyati. So here it's mentioned bhavishyati means in future he is going to come. Yeah. So this prediction was made 2600 years before Lord Buddha appears. So how much precise are the different writings of Vedas we can see here. What is going to come in future is mentioned already in the Vedas. And where he will come, Lord Buddha, that's also mentioned in Kikatesu Bhavishyati, in Bihar province will come. And his mother name is also mentioned. His mother name will be Anjana. He will be coming as son of Anjana. So in this way, he will delude the envious people. Those who are envious of faithful theists. Then in somewhere in the end of Kali Yuga, Lord is going to come as Kalki avatar. Athasau Yuga Sandhyayam Dasyu Prayushu Rajsu Janita Vishnu Yasaso Namna Kalir Jagatpatihi. Thereafter, at the conjunction of the two yugas, the Lord of the creation will take his birth as Kalki incarnation and become the son of Vishnu Yasa. At this time, the rulers of the earth will have degenerated into plunderers. Dasyu Prayashu Rajasu. So, this is about future. Again, how many years? 4,27,000 years from now, waiting us. Kalki Avatar. Haribol. So, Lord Sri Krishna will appear as son of Vishnu Yasa. Vishnu Yasa is another Brahmana's name. You see, the father's name is also mentioned here. And he will come as a place called Sambhal Gram. That's also mentioned in some another section of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then, Sutta Goswami tells, Avatara Shankheya Hare Sattva Nidhe Dujah Yatha Vidashina Pulya Sharashasyu Shrushaha. O Brahmanas, the incarnations of the Lord are innumerable, like rivulets flowing through inexhaustible sources of water. Unlimited incarnations. There is no end of incarnations. There is no end of incarnations. The unlimited number of incarnations. Advaitam Achyutam Anadi Anantarupam. Lord Sri Krishna has unlimited forms, uncountable forms. Yeah. So just to give some idea like that, Rishya, Munuvo, Deva, Manuputra, in this way there are so many different types of incarnations who are especially powerful, and planetary portions, the planetary portion of the Lord. This is also includes Prajapati Brahma too. So from here, from 28th sloka to next, some few slokas we shall be discussing in the next class. And there we are going to see how Krishna is the Samman Bonam. Krishna is the source of all incarnations, the fountainhead of all incarnations. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So thank you so much, all of you, for being part of today's Srimad Bhagavatam session. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Thank you so much. So if you have any question, any comment, you can put in the chat box, or else, of course, you can put in the WhatsApp group. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so there is no question as such. So thank you so much once again. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. So once again, most fortunate opportunity for all of us is tomorrow, is Bhadra Purnima, the appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, in so many other Puranas, that anybody who takes up Bhagavatam, he purchases Bhagavatam, he gives gift to someone as Bhagavatam, his ticket to Golok Vrindavan, back home, back to Godhead, is fixed. So it's a great opportunity. Tomorrow is Bhadra Purnima, and the Bhadra Purnima days, bringing Bhagavatam in our home. So I request you all that please don't miss out this opportunity to gift someone Bhagavatam, or if you don't have Bhagavatam, at least keep one Bhagavatam set with you. And this was a great pleasure for Supreme Lord Hari and all Vaishnavas in the world. And in this way, we can advance toward our ultimate destination, ultimate home, Golok Vrindavan. We can make our destiny brighter and brighter and brighter. Yeah, thank you so much, all of you, once again. So if you want to get any knowledge about this, you can always contact with Somasundar Prabhu and to me also, if you find. So thank you so much once again. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here.